Welcome to the extended version of this lesson on the need and the flaw. We just covered how the need is a way of expressing your protag's flaw, how their flaw comes from their wound, and how to double the power of the flaw by making it affect both your protag and those around them. Now we're going to discuss the hidden relationship between the want and the need and how you can use it to make your story more meaningful, before diving into an in-depth example from the 2005 romantic comedy, Wedding Crashers. To start, let's talk about the hidden relationship between the want, the need, and the flaw. We know the want is something intangible, but based in the physical world that the protag believes will make them happy. We know the need is also intangible, but based in the psychological world. And we know the protag has some kind of flaw, whether as a bad personality trait or a faulty worldview that is negatively impacting themselves, others, or both. But there is one secret way to think about these three ideas that can help you not only master them in theory, but also use them to make your story more truthful, impactful, and meaningful. And it all surrounds the idea of cutting out a problem at its roots. Think of your protag's flaw as these creeping vines in their life. One vine is wrapped around their own legs, holding them back. One vine is wrapped around their best friend, holding them back. And another lashes out at strangers, hurting them as they try to enter the protag's life. There are two ways to approach the problem. The first is to cut off one of these vines, but with some time that vine will just grow right back. The second solution, which is more permanent, is to go for the roots and get rid of the vines completely. And each of the solutions are represented by the want and the need. The want is what the protag believes will solve the problems brought on by their flaw. Let's say they're impatient and they're always snapping at people. This causes people to be annoyed with them and not want to be their friend. But the protag doesn't understand it's their impatience that is pushing these people away. The protag believes that if they got their want, which in this case let's say is popularity, then more people will want to be their friend. They see the problems caused by their flaw and they see their want as the solution. But this solution will only temporarily cut off the vines, because their impatience will still annoy their new friends. The real solution, the one that will actually stop them from pushing people away, is their need, which is the complete elimination of their flaw. Since the need is the opposite of the flaw, in this case it would be patience. And if the protag learned patience, they wouldn't snap at people and push them away. The problems caused by their flaw would be gone, because by embracing the need, they are eliminating their flaw. And this holistic solution is like taking the vines out at the roots. So, to summarize this way of thinking, the protag's flaw is causing problems in their life. Their want is what they believe will solve these problems. But the real solution to these problems is the need, as embracing the need will eliminate the flaw. This is a super powerful way of thinking about the relationship between the want and the need. One is what the protag thinks will solve their problems and make them happy. The other is what will actually solve their problems and make them happy. And when the want, need, and flaw feel like they fit together naturally, your story will feel more true to life and more meaningful. Now, let's see the need in action with our in-depth example.
Wedding Crashers is a 2005 romantic comedy that follows best friends John and Jeremy as they, you guessed it, crash weddings. But when John meets Claire at one of the weddings, he falls head over heels and will suddenly do anything to be with her. Wedding Crashers does a great job of highlighting protag John's flaw and showing the interplay between the want and the need. To start, let's discuss John's flaw. Right near the start of the movie, John forgets the name of a woman he's about to sleep with. She asks him if he's completely full of shit or just 50%, and John says, "I hope just 50, but who knows." Then, in the next scene, John asks Jeremy if what they're doing is irresponsible. Jeremy reassures him that it isn't, but it still puts John's flaw front and center. John is inauthentic. He's constantly lying to get into weddings and sleep with women. And if he wants to be with Claire, that flaw will have to go. This also means that John's need is authenticity. He needs to learn to be authentic, which here means truthful and honest. If he doesn't learn to be authentic, he's going to suffer the problems brought on by inauthenticity. To start, it's clear he feels guilty and unfulfilled by their current lifestyle, as shown in the scene where he asks if what they're doing is irresponsible. And throughout the movie, his inauthenticity leads to complications with Claire, a soured relationship with one of his idols, the Treasury Secretary, and even crashing a funeral during his lowest point. John's want, meanwhile, is connection. He believes a connection with Claire will solve his problems and make him happy. which is why his goal is her, or a relationship with her, however you want to see it. Unfortunately, his only way of approaching Claire is inauthentically, which means not only will he not impress Claire, he won't solve his problems either. At his lowest point, John meets Chaz and sees what his life will be like if he keeps up this inauthenticity. As the pair crash a funeral, John looks at a grieving widow and has an epiphany, which we'll cover more in the next lesson. Seeing the error of his ways, John rushes to Jeremy's wedding to tell Claire that even though he lied about who he was, the way he acted was real. In other words, they connected over authenticity. He apologizes for his inauthentic ways, calling them pathetic, and embraces the authentic. In other words, he embraces his need. And in the end, like many movies, he still gets his want, but only because he fulfilled his need.
Through this extended lesson, you can really see how you can use the want and need in your story. Understanding the interplay between each of these parts will help you craft an intricate masterpiece. And understanding how the want and need connect through the flaw will help you craft a story that has a deeper meaning. The theme of your story, which we'll cover soon, is so much more powerful when you know how to show an audience that in order to truly solve our problems, we must overcome our flaws. Those are the stories we remember. And now let's jump into the next lesson where we'll talk about exactly where your protag learns their need.